this video, I'll be going over how you can make mobile designs like these and turn them into fully fledged out apps in the fastest and most efficient workflow possible. Here I've made a very simple app design inside of Glamour and given it to Cloud Code. And I've done this relatively within 10 minutes. So here I've made a really simple to-do list scheduling productivity kind of app here with Cloud Code. And so basically you have your home section here, which is the tasks you need to get done for the day. You have your calendar here where you can go through, you can schedule tasks, see where you have your tasks. You then have your search, right? So plan weekly priorities. Finally, your settings page. Now, this is just a very simple example, but why should you be building in mobile apps in this day and age, especially with AI, compared to web apps? Now, I'm not saying web apps are bad. However, there are two things when it comes to mobile apps. They clear web apps in these categories. And the first one being easier distribution. You see, the reason why mobile apps are way easier to actually distribute and market effectively is because most of these mobile apps you make are B2C, so they tailor to the individual. So they're B2C, they tailor to the individual. And one of the biggest strengths is your actual ecosystem. You see, when you're building mobile apps, especially iOS apps, you're deploying them to the App Store. They're going to be on the App Store for users to actually buy and use, right? They're going to be on the App Store. The App Store's ecosystem is around 2 million active apps per month, I think, but regardless, it's 2 million, around that metric. Whereas when you're building web apps, you're not just competing with other web apps, your niche, your target audience. You're competing with the whole World Wide Web. Who knows how much stuff is on here? It is probably hundreds of trillion. So looking at the actual total general accessible market in terms of what can potentially be distributed to in terms of your ecosystem, you can see that this is 2 million compared to this gigantic colossal number of hundreds of trillion, even more. And as a result, with that, the App Store serves as a better foundation on building apps and potentially just leaving them there to accumulate wealth as passive income because of the narrower ecosystem, and people will find you way faster. Whereas if you were to do this with a traditional web app. Now that we've gone over some of the pros of building mobile apps and their distribution, let's go over ASO. Single-handedly, the best thing you could possibly do to boost your app's presence and MRR and growth on the App Store is ASO. ASO stands for App Store Optimization. App Store Optimization. This is basically the SEO for the App Store. It's how users find your product when they query a search term that is relevant or tailored towards your product. And so just like you do SEO for your website or you try to rank for your key terms, you want to do the same thing by making your product really stand out and attracting those key terms. You want to attract key terms that are relevant to your product. So specifically to niches, fitness, right? If you're making something in the fitness niche, you want to really attract those keywords with stuff like calorie apps that do calorie tracking, dieting, etc. You get the point, right? So one of the other things you can do for App Store optimization is you want to really have your app stand out as like almost like a brand, right? So you want to have screenshots of your app, and you really want to make sure that it looks like just genuinely something that people would love to interact with, right? Almost like a brand on its own, where you have screenshots of what the app does. Sometimes you'll see that people will put them in like phones, and it will and they show you how it would look on your kind of phone. And so you can do something like that, but you really want to make your brand of your app really stand out with its own branding, its color schemes. And with the App Store optimization, this whole thing is quite crucial for you to start attracting users all autonomously. So now that we know why app stores are way easier to distribute and get more users and acquire more customers and get more MRR, let's talk about why it's even easier to come up with a product and ideation. You see, for web apps, people generically will buy them because, they solve your problem and, it's unique. A lot of the things with a web app is being unique, though they might be the same product function. You see, and what I mean by this is if you take a look at the apps you use, right? Maybe you're a designer, you're a developer. Are you going to be downloading 3 different design tools that do the same thing? Or are you going to be choosing the best out of those 3, right? You're going to choose the best one out of those 3, or are you going to use both of those, all 3 of them simultaneously throughout your workflow? You're probably not going to do that. You're probably going to default to the best one, right? And so an example of this is like, you might use Figma over Framer or Webflow or any of the other tools, right? As an example, right? So similarly, for web apps, you need to make sure that you're kind of distinct in the niche you decide to build. Now, as I said, mobile apps kind of counteract that because it's quite easy to ideate and come up with a product. Why? The reason is a lot of them are just clones. And if you take a look at the App Store yourself, in fact, I'll even pull it up right here. We can take a look. And if I search for something like, productivity app, right, to make me more productive, we can see that a lot of them are almost doing the exact same thing. If I want to do maybe something like a habit tracker, to be precise, in the field of productivity, we can see that, a lot of people are making habit trackers. If I go on the actual iPhone and iPad apps, this is where you're specifically going to see it, right? There are so many versions of these apps. They're all clones of each other's. To be honest, there's probably no original ideation. There's no specific person that came up with the very first habit tracker. Each one of them clone off each other. And that is the best way to make a product and an idea for mobile apps. You do not want to reinvent the wheel here. Just like with web apps, you don't really invent the wheel. However, you add some sort of distinction. You add some sort of distinction that makes your apps different from other competitors in your niche while retaining the same product functionality and general use cases. For mobile apps, it's literally the direct opposite. You just clone what's working in any niche, and then you can just turn that into a mobile app and then start printing money with it, as long as it actually works as use cases and it ideates quite well. In fact, some of the apps even that you see on the web store are kind of ridiculous, and it makes you think, how are they even making money? And it just turns out a lot of people will genuinely buy things at the end of the day if they can really use it to solve their problems, right? So now that we've done a full breakthrough on how mobile apps are so much less complicated and more easier to distribute, let's go over how we can take this simple prototype and make it way better. So I'm going to head over to Glamour, my design tool I really love to use to prototype UI designs. And so what I'm going to do is I want to make this more, look more cooler. So I have so Claude has set up the initial app. As you can see, I have to do it in the viewport by command inspect elements, so it looks what it would actually look like on mobile. But let's make this way better. So we have this kind of page that's our home page, and it only just shows our tasks. We should do something that's way more convincing, more compelling, to add more colors. Maybe we've gone for some very simplistic minimalism design, which is black and white. Let's give this to an LLM to prompt it for a redesign, and then put that into Glamour, and then give us a brand new page of this. Okay, so I've given a prompt with a Gemini, knowing that it has context over this tab right here. And basically, I've just told it to take what you currently see on this tab right here, make it more into a home page, right? Because for our home page, it just only shows tasks for today. Home pages should be showing kind of like a dashboard kind of style. Homepage should be covering the general gist of the app. So I've told it, given that, redesign the whole thing, add more metrics, make it more aesthetic with more color and animations and effects. So now Gemini has curated the prompt for redesigning the productivity app. So what I'm going to do is I'm quite literally just going to take this, I'm going to go inside of Glamour. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on generate and I'm going to click on this mobile icon right here. I'm going to click this, and to make sure I really get the results I want, I'm going to go to GPT 5.5 and then I'm going to press create. So Glamour has finished generating the design. Note that it doesn't have previous context of what this design actually was. So I like how it's gone for more aesthetics. It's added like this kind of sun, it's added this notification, right? Momentum unlocked. And I like there's more color, and I like the kind of neo-brutalism while it's more modern kind of design it's gone for. Also, you can see that you would scroll down and it's called it a flow. So I really like the ideation and the trajectory it's gone for. So I'm just going to copy this and give it to Claude Code, and I'm going to tell it to use this type of style and just apply it to our current homepage. So I've given it to Claude Code. All I've told it is to just retain our current product idea and just apply this transformation of the homepage design. It looks like Claude was able to redesign our homepage with the design Glamour was able to make. So as you can see, it's more colorful and not so monotonous with the black and white. I do think the black and white was cleaner, but I think for a mobile app, you do need to add some sort of visual clarity and some sort of visual appearance so that you can really stand out to your target audience and the people who would be using your app. So as you can see, we still have our functionality here with our scheduling. Our home pages looks way better. You can obviously refine and tune this way more to have it more functional and add more stuff with your flow. I like how the actual product tasks are now actual like tasks in this visual timeline kind of way. I think you add more stuff like that looks way better in design. It'll attract way more to use your app, and as a result you would get way more converting customers. So this is one of the workflows you can use to generate an app. Obviously this was a very basic and bland idea I just gave to Glamour and then redesigned with just a Gemini prompt. It didn't have any context stuff, so I think I could have done better if I gave it an actual image of what it looked like. Once again, Glamour incorporating that in your design workflows and then handing off to Claude Code, you can easily build an app. And going back to what I said earlier, now mobile apps are quite easy to make, and that they're one of the best things you should be making in terms of the distribution and their ideation and product advantages they have over regular web apps. So hopefully that was insightful for you guys. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.